I specifically did not jump into the who's buying who, Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons & Dragons argument on purpose. However, another part of the discussion and the possibility hit me today. Something that I haven't seen noticed. I've agreed with most of what's been out there. Hey, it's probably not going to happen. If it does, well, we'll just play something else. Yeah, but we already have established that people often don't look to get into TTRPGs as a hobby. They're looking to play Dungeons & Dragons. It takes some extra effort to shift them somewhere else. TTRPGs don't have the brand power. They don't have the staying power, the reach that Dungeons & Dragons does. So people don't even know what a TTRPG is, but they know what Dungeons & Dragons is. And here's the part that got me. Okay, so let's say he does buy Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, so we're going to have a harder time getting people into the hobby. Or the people that start entering the hobby are not the people we necessarily want in the TTRPG community. These things have already been brought up. I want to look at it from a different side. And some of us who are older, careful, don't let your knee jerk too hard. The ibuprofen hasn't kicked in yet. Remember the satanic panic? What happens when Dungeons & Dragons gets associated with him? Don't think that that's as much of a problem? Let me give you a few examples. Let's see. Harry Potter. Great novel series, right? Now, if you're still a fan, you have to defend it a lot of times. Once upon a time, I was a Republican. I have no clue who these crazy folk are now. Nope, no more. H.P. Lovecraft. Lots of Cthulhu fans out there. Most of them still kind of get away with it because of the concept of the great old ones. But it still gets called into question a lot. And there are people who flat out will not get into things like Cthulhu and Harry Potter because of the progenitors. There's people who won't get into Ender's Game because of who wrote it. So now if Dungeons & Dragons is the big banner that everyone associates with our hobby, with the tabletop role-playing game community, and that becomes synonymous with him, are we back to the dark days where we have to do this in basements and behind closed doors and get sand kicked in our face? Okay, yeah, that never really happened to me either, but we were ostracized. We were part of an abnormal group. We were not welcome. We were the outcasts. Will we be headed back that way? Unjustly so, but until the past couple of years, while the hobby's been growing over the past few decades, until the past couple of years, it still wasn't as acceptable, socially acceptable, to say, yeah, I play Dungeons & Dragons, or I play role-playing games. That really just came about within the last decade, I'd say. If Dungeons & Dragons is what everybody knows, and everybody knows he is Dungeons & Dragons, what does that do to us? All the more reason I've been pushing for building the community, building it stronger, educating those outside the community. It's not the D&D hobby. It's not the Dungeons & Dragons game. It's tabletop role-playing games. It's the TTRPG community. There is more variety in TTRPG than there is seasonings at the grocery store. Just something that kind of popped into my head. Thought I'd share it here. Until I see you guys again, remember to be well, be safe, and be awesome, both to yourself and one another.